Welcome to another fun-filled Monday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeena McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena McGee on the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app. You want to know why? Because we said so, that's why. And also, so you can catch our other 5 live shows throughout the week. If you happen to miss them, you go back and watch them and listen to them at your own leisure. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. And speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, you can find them on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, find Sports Zone Chicago on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You want to catch the audio version of this show, Second City Sports, you can subscribe to our podcast at War on Anchor. Once again, at War on Anchor, we are available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. Just make sure you type this in your search engine boxes. You ready? WARR on Anchor. And you can follow War Media at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, at War Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions on any of our sports topics during our 2-hour extravaganza, we call it Sports Talk Radio Show. You can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something stupid, I'm giving Lakeena football to give you fools to barrel and beer boot.
Bye-bye.
I love when she says that. Before we begin, we must remind you that you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago now on Roku TV. That's right. Liam Hendricks likes it, and so should you. Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku TV. You have a Roku television. Just go into the sports section and type in Sports Zone Chicago, and you'll be able to access our programming right there. For those of you that don't have a Roku TV, you can download the Roku TV app on your laptop, television, iPhone, wherever you have a watching device. Make sure you access our program on Sports Zone Chicago. You can watch us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can watch us when we go live, or you can watch us on demand later, because I know we all have life and other responsibilities to take care of. You can watch us later. So once again, Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku TV. Let's get this thing started, Lakeena, by discussing baseball. In particular, Chicago baseball, the Southside Hitmen, they split the 4-game series with the second place Cleveland Guardians, losing the first 2 games of the series on Friday and the first half of that doubleheader on Saturday, but bounced back with a primetime win on Saturday night in front of a semi-national audience, and they won yesterday in Sunday afternoon's series finale behind Dylan Cease's 4 strikeout, 6 shutout inning performance. The White Sox are back to a 500 once they began this time last week at the All-Star break. Now they have an important 2-game road trip before coming home for a big 3-game weekend series against the 2 worst teams in all of baseball. They head out on the road today to face the Colorado Rockies tomorrow and Wednesday, before having another off day on Thursday, and then hosting one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in baseball, coming up next weekend in the Oakland Athletics. Lakeena, I'll make this short and simple. If you don't make your move now, when are you going to?
Well, they salvaged their series. I think you forgot to use the word salvage against the Guardians. And of course, we said it, Cidio, during our discussion about this on Friday, that they'll probably, they should win 3 out of 4. I mean, they could win 3 out of 4, but knowing this team, they split, and that's exactly what they did. Okay,
yeah, I'm not surprised.
They got the best of Shane Bieber, I should say, yesterday, but you probably tell his schedule was a little bit off because of the All-Star break and such. But again, you lost the game because the Twins with their series with 1-2. Well, they split their series with the Tigers, so yeah, you lost the game. So you're back to where you started before the second half of the All-Star break. So you really didn't do too much. I mean, yes, the hitting and such, but again, there was a lot of fielding mistakes and such. So especially in that Thursday and Friday game. So it was game 1, a doubleheader, I should say. So it was one of those things where you're like, the needle hasn't moved much for me as far as the White Sox are concerned. Now, yes, you're going to be facing Colorado and Coors Field, and we know how Coors Field is and such, how weird that field is at times. So And also too, sort of like, the same thing. And also too with Oakland, we know Oakland's terrible, but we know that the Sox don't, really do too well against Oakland. So it's sort of one of those things where you kind of like, you just don't know what to think. I know like everybody wants to say, hey, this might be the time for them to get into it, but like, whatever.
Couple of things that you had to be encouraged about if you're a White Sox fan. One, the bats are starting to heat up, and they're actually starting to heat up at home because Lakeena, for the majority of the first half of the season, the White Sox couldn't do anything positive at home. But this past weekend, in the last two games for the White Sox, Eloy Jimenez, who got hit around the wrist area on Friday, he was okay. He sat out the first game of that doubleheader on Saturday. He had back-to-back home runs in yesterday and Saturday night's victory over the Cleveland Guardians. A.J. Pollock, who's been struggling over the last month, he had that game-winning hit on Saturday night to give the White Sox the victory there, and he had a big two-run home run yesterday. So hopefully things are turning around for A.J. Pollock. Also, too, Leary legend, Leary Garcia, who's been the butt of everybody's jokes, and rightfully so at times this year. He came up big with a big two-run home run yesterday to help the Sox to a 6-3 victory. The bats are starting to heat up. Lakeena, I know Yasmani Grandal is back. It's going to take him some time to get back. But Tim Anderson is still doing his thing. He's got to sharpen it up on the field just like everybody else. But I'm encouraged with what I'm starting to see from this White Sox offense. They didn't bring it Friday for whatever reason. Lakeena, I thought that team was walking around dead face. It's just going through the motions. But they did turn it around in the doubleheader on Saturday, even though they were not rewarded in that first game on Saturday. They were rewarded in the nightcap, and then what happened again yesterday against Shane Bieber. Now, I thought they were going to win the game yesterday. I thought it was going to be a little bit tougher than we all originally thought, but they jumped on the mistakes of Shane Bieber from the Guardians yesterday. Bieber's two of the three home runs that Bieber gave up, his breaking ball was not breaking yesterday. It broke in the middle of the plate, and the White Sox batters took advantage of that. So what this White Sox team was known for last year is taking advantage of other teams' mistakes. They did that the last couple of games. Hopefully that trend will continue.
They gotta do it more consistently, though, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's why people like me are not sold on the White Sox yet. We're waiting. Look, you're getting it. You're almost in August now. We're kind of like you're into like that little push. So, like I said, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for them to be more consistent. They haven't showed it to me yet. So, okay, yeah, you got Colorado, you got Oakland coming up this week, but again, weird things happen in those series as well. So, I'm not. Look, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna hold off on. Okay, they can make a move and such. So they're 4 games out and such. I think they're like about 5 games out of the wild card, but the last wild card spot, I should say. But okay, fine. Okay, just it's okay. Like I said, I'm not bitter about the White Sox at this point, because just when you thought that maybe they're at 500 now, but can they get over 500? And so I'm like I said, I'm at that point where I'm like, okay, you know what? Show me. You're gonna have to show me to maybe believe that you can come back and win the AL Central.
Now, I said this on our show last Friday, Lakeena. One person that has to show me that this team is serious about making a playoff push, and that's Lance Lynn. And I said this on our last show. He needs to have a 2005 Jose Contreras type run to make me believe that he's a top pitcher in the White Sox rotation next to Dylan Cease. He did that on Saturday. I was at the game. He had 6 innings of shutout baseball with 6 strikeouts. He had better command on the mound. We all know that Cleveland, when healthy, they're one of the best young hitting lineups in baseball, with Stephen Kwan leading at the top, Jose Ramirez, and you have Ramil Reyes as well. And let's be honest here, even though Lance Lynn, this is his second month back from his injury, like you said, Lakeena, this is not his first go around. This is not his first radio. He needs to put up a shut up. He got out to a great start on Saturday. Now, he deserved the win, but the middle relief gave it up before A.J. Pollock saved them in the 8th inning there on Saturday. But Lance Lynn got out to a nice start. Hopefully, he can keep it going from now to the end of the season.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there now in closing before we go to the Cubs and the rest of the MLB. I think for me, I think, like I said, I'm kind of in that sort of like, okay, yeah, they're supposed to have like the quote unquote easiest schedule left in the majors in the second half. Okay, great. You split against your division rivals. That's not going to win you the division. I'm sorry, it's not. So I'm waiting for them to kind of make that move. Now, again, they play Kansas City after the Oakland series. They got 4 at Texas. Also against KC and such. So you need to make a move. This is the time to do it. So if not, you're going to be right back where you started. So I don't know what more can I say. I mean, you got Detroit, then you got Houston, who's been in a row, and then you got Cleveland again. Then you got that mega game against Kansas City on the 22nd of August. Then you have Baltimore. We'll see how they look. They're showing that they're not pushovers either. So again, this is sort of like weird things. And plus, take care of it. Look, take care of your stuff at home. You split the series against the Guardians, but yeah, you need to take care. They got a better record on the road than they do at home. Most of the games that are going to be left, especially once we get closer and closer to September, you're going to be making up for a lot of those home games. So you need to start winning at home, and also too on the road. You got a decent record on the road, but you need to win your games at home, and that's what they're not doing now.
Let's switch over to the north side. It's looking at the 38-57 Chicago Cubs. They're currently on a 3-game winning streak after sweeping the Philadelphia Phillies in the city of brotherly love yesterday. The Cubs, behind Yan Gomes' 2 dingers, defeated the Philadelphia Phillies by the score of 4-3. Wilson Contreras is still swinging the bat well. Are we watching his last days as a member of the Chicago Cubs? I say yes. Could a couple other veterans be joining that list with Contreras? I say yes. In particular, Ian Happ and closer Dave Robertson. Lakeena Velasquez had a home run yesterday. He had a couple home runs in this series as well. As we said, Lakeena, well, you do not get mad at the Cubs for a lack of effort. They show it every night. They just don't have the talent. But this weekend in the city of brotherly love, the offense came alive. Those bats were hot, and we shouldn't be surprised at what we've seen from this Cubs offense. As we said, Lakeena, once they get it going, even though it's in short spurts, and they show you what they're capable of, they did it again this weekend.
Yeah, first time, sweeping the Phillies in Philly since I think 2008 was when the Phillies won the World Series. So I think this is sort of like a strange, series here. They jump on them, on Friday. They just pounded the Phillies 15-2, led by Velasquez. Like you said, he had 2 home runs, drove in 5, and I think he had drove in I think 9 RBIs overall in that series. So yeah, it's sort of a weird, I guess. So if you're sort of like one of those weird things that happened, I guess, when sort of like starting the second half, it was, going all too Smiley had his best outing, best quality start of the season, had 6 innings. So, really solid innings. So I don't know. I mean, look, I think, you could probably say that the Cubs, didn't have a lack of effort. You can't really say that about them. So they get the Pirates. So it'll be interesting to see what they do here. But like I said, we'll see. Look, Contreras, Happ, because David Robertson, because some if not all those guys could be gone in the next week or two. We'll see. But yeah, I think if you're a Cubs fan, you gotta be feeling, okay, all right, okay, guess what? What's with the Phillies? Okay, cool. But
And also, they got some great starting pitchers, especially from Justice Steele on Friday. He was helped out by a great offensive output by his teammates. But let's not underestimate the Cubs starting staff. And like I said, Justice Steele's been good. Keegan Thompson's been good ever since he got into that starting rotation in the middle of May. You still have Kyle Hendricks and Marcus Stroman is just now off the IL. And so when this Cubs team is clicking on all cylinders, they could compete with anybody. Are they going to win most of the time? No. But as I said before, you cannot accuse them of quitting or having a lack of effort. They'll give you that every night. And I think thanks to their manager, David Ross. But when they give you hope in spurts, this is the potential that we see in the Cubs.
Which is all you want. I think you want something to kind of build off of now. Will they be ready to win next year? Probably not, but I think you want to have a building block. You sort of want to build into maybe more and more that maybe you can kind of get a contender. You sort of build yourself into a possible contending team within the next year or two. That because you need something to sell to the Cubs fans. Because at this point, you're probably thinking, people are ambivalent. They're kind of like, oh, they swept the Phillies. Okay, and they just go about their business. So this is sort of like one of those sort of like, okay, this is a nice notch. Kind of threw the Phillies off a little bit and sweeping them. So, but yeah, it's sort of one of those things. You're kind of like, okay, whatever. Like, let's move on. So what caught your eye? Go ahead.
Yeah, before we move on up to the rest of baseball, who did the game with Jason Benetti yesterday? It was him, John Crocker, who represented the Cubs in the booth yesterday for Peacock.
I didn't watch that game yesterday, so I couldn't tell you who who was there, but I'll look it up right quick. But let's see here. But yeah, you go ahead. Tell me what caught your eye at MLB this week.
Yeah, well, caught my eye
weekend.
from around the diamond over the weekend. The San Francisco Giants, you can kiss their playoff hopes goodbye. They got swept in a 4-game series against the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Los Angeles Angels, their playoff hopes vanished when they fired Joe Mena almost a month ago. They lose 2 out of 3 to the Atlanta Braves. I know the Angels won yesterday to avoid being swept, but the Angels with Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. Those guys do not deserve what's been happening to them playing for that franchise. That's just unbelievable. But speaking of Baltimore, that you brought up earlier, Ken, they lose 2 out of 3 to the New York Yankees. Aaron Judge hit his 37th home run yesterday as a part of a 6-0 win. Aaron Judge called me crazy, but he's your leader in the clubhouse for American League MVP.
Yeah, he's already at 35 home runs in the team. Is the first 95 games of the season, joining Babe Ruth, who did it 4 times. So it's crazy that all the things he's doing. I think he's probably like right there in the clubhouse for MVP. Now staying in that AL East, did you see what happened in the Blue Jays Red Sox series? I should ask.
Yeah, Boston needed Tom Brady, especially on Friday.
28-5 on Friday. If you guys missed the score, Ramel Tapia, hit just a third inside the park the third inside the park grand slam. This millennium. It's sort of like it's the second time a Blue Jay has done that, an inside the park home run. You got to go way back to Junior Fields, all the way back in '89, also at Fenway. So go figure there. But just not a good showing by you're probably the Red Sox is sort of playoff chances took a bit of a hit with that performance. It was just like, what the hell happened here? But I mean, if like they've won 6 in a row, I should say, going back to right before the All-Star break, the Blue Jays are, so they're starting to kind of find their rhythm as well. So I mean, gosh. And for those of you who are wondering, those other two games, they were only like 4-1 and 8-4, I should say, yesterday. So you're like, okay, that was sort of like, but just insane. And I guess Elvis Duran, couldn't find where the ball was initially. So like, and then it went over his head and it hit the light. So it was like,
where
did it happen? So yeah, that was just crazy.
Which way did he go?
I'll say Red Sox fans, you better hope we can kind of get back on track here.
Tampa Bay loses 2 out of 3 to Kansas City. So Cincinnati Reds taking care of the Cardinals in the Queen City. Go look out there. And then Milwaukee in a strange 4-game weekend series, which wraps up today. They take care of the Rockies in the first 3 games so far in the Cheese State. And your Mariners, Lakeena, they got swept at home by the Houston Astros as order was restored, quote unquote, in the AL West.
Yeah, I mean, that was sort of like, well, also too, Julio Rodriguez, I guess his wrist, he got hurt his wrist, during the home run derby. So he hadn't played those last 3 games. The first 3 games coming back. So they're actually going to do an MRI as we speak. So hopefully it's not too serious and that he has to do an IL stint. But look, Altuve hit a couple of home runs during that series. So it's sort of like, okay, it's kind of weird. But, it was fine.
And also, too, the New York Mets avoided being swept as they won last night 8-2 over the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, so another interesting series. Sort of like very, like I said, like some of the weird things that happen in some of those series. But it's I guess so. Like their first week back, weird things happen. So we'll see if they can, we'll keep up with some of those going into the schedule for Monday going in through Wednesday. Miami and Cincy. You got Atlanta and Philly. Philly hoping to get that taste of losing to the Cubs, being swept by the Cubs out of their mouths. Tampa Bay hoping to get back on track. They face a tough Baltimore team who's had their number this so far this season. Cleveland and Boston. That should be a fun one. Boston hoping to get the stench from the Blue Jay series out of their system as well. Detroit hosting San Diego. Pittsburgh and Chicago. They started a new. This is actually they started a new series as well. The Angels and Kansas City, Colorado and Milwaukee. This is actually a makeup game, so finishing up that series. Houston and Oakland, San Francisco and Arizona, Texas and Seattle, and Washington and the Dodgers.
In a couple of series that will start tomorrow on Tuesday is the interleague series. You have St. Louis at Toronto, and you have the Battle of the Subway Series. Some people think this could be a preview of this year's World Series. I doubt it, but it'll be the New York Yankees visiting the New York Mets in Citi Field for a quick 2-game series in that one. So that's your schedule for this upcoming week in Major League Baseball, starting tonight and tomorrow.
All right, our baseball. We'll talk more baseball. We'll talk about baseball later. We'll talk about the Hall of Fame and such as the induction happened on yesterday. So we'll talk more about that. But we're gonna go to the Gridiron now. NFL training camps open up all over, including the Bears. They open up later this week. We're gonna have our buddy Windy City Gridiron's Lester Wiltfong to join us to preview the Bears and sort of I guess you could say what to expect, but they actually had a really good signing that might be familiar to some hockey fans as well. So along with Sydney Brown, Lakeena McGee, Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you in a bit.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
Here's a deep drive to left off the bat of Velasquez. Get out the tape measure, long gone.
The action on the Cubs radio network, 4-3 the win over the Phillies on Sunday. Yan Gomes hit a pair of home runs, helping the Cubs complete a 3-game sweep. Nelson Velasquez also went deep for Chicago, who've won 4 straight. Drew Smyly retired his first 14 batters. He gave up 1 earned run on 4 hits with 4 strikeouts and no walks. David Robertson pitched out of a jam in a scoreless 9th for his 14th save of the season.
Back, and that baby's gone. 3-run homer.
The action on the White Sox radio network, 6-3 the win over the Guardians on Sunday in Chicago. The American League Central rivals split a 4-game series. The White Sox third in the division, 4 games out of first. The Guardians are second, 3 games behind the first place Twins. Just days away from the start of Bears training camp, all players due to report by tomorrow. The first public practice this Thursday at 10 a.m.
For lightning fast sports updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of the most popular sports apps in North America. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
I want to make the most of summer without breaking the bank. So I shopped Kohl's Friends and Family sale. With my 25% off coupon, I headed to the store and got shorts for $14.99, plus an extra 50% off a swimsuit, 40% off patio furniture, and $20 off as a Kohl's Rewards member. More style and more savings for the win. Select styles, $20 off of $100 valid in store only. 25% offer ends July 31st in store only. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
This is a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup sound experiment. We're looking to find the perfect way to hear Reese's so you'll buy more of them. Here we go. Reese's, 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 Reese's. Hey, get out of here, you little stinker.
Reese's.
Reese's. Reese's.
Peanut Butter Cups. That breathy one sounded very creepy, am I right?
All right, welcome back to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Lakeena McGee along with Sydney Brown. You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, this SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Don't forget, you can watch Sports Zone Chicago on Roku TV. If you have Roku television, just click on the sports section and type in Sports Zone Chicago to access our programming live and on demand, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Just feels like it, and you should too. Get up, Chicago. Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku TV. You have a question and comment for our next guest, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in your questions and comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. The Bears will start training camp as their first practice is on Wednesday. The rookies have already reported to Hallis Hall, and the veterans will be reported by tomorrow. So the first practice will be held on Wednesday. And to help us preview Bears training camp and a whole lot more, that's our good friend of the program from Windy City, Gridiron. Let's please welcome back to the program, Mr. Lester Wiltfong Jr. Lester, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Doing good. How about you guys?
We're doing fine. Doing fine. Yeah, football is here. We have more content as usual. The NFL they don't do it any better like anybody else. So, and this is a great time of year.
Year-round NFL is the best. It's the best way to go.
It's awesome.
Yes, it is. Let's start off with the quarterback of the Chicago Bears, Justin Fields. Lester, despite all the other issues on the roster, which we'll get to coming up, but what do you expect out of Mr. Fields a year number 2 in the Bears uniform?
Yeah, I'm excited to see his development. I mean, last year, yeah, he had some time in the games. You know, he had some mistakes. He had some flashes, some good, some bad. But it's just a bad situation all around for him in that Matt Nagy offense. Wasn't the best fit for him. They didn't really cater things to his skill set. So, you know, he'll take that experience from a year ago. He'll apply it to what he has to learn here in the NFL. But now in the brand new Luke Getsy scheme, more of a Kyle Shanahan-esque system, it's going to fit his skill set better. So I'm excited to see him grow within the offense. And, you know, there'll still be some growing pains, but, you know, it's going to be a fun journey to watch as Bears fans, because, I mean, I really think this is the guy. I think he will eventually become the franchise quarterback for the Bears, and that's been a long time coming.
Well, since Sid sort of stole my question about about Justin Fields, now let's go to the defense for a second. We'll just get this question out the way too. Do you think that Robert Quinn will be a Bear by the end of the season?
No, I don't. I think at some point he'll be traded. You know, my best guess is they're just waiting for the right offer. I think we'll see if he reports. I mean, he has to report by tomorrow. First practice, of course, is on Wednesday. You know, he elected to stay home for the entire offseason workout program, including the stuff that was mandatory. So, you know, we'll see. I mean, there really hasn't been nothing out there about him being unhappy with the situation. There has been a few reports about him, you know, be willing to be traded. The Bears, of course, probably would like to do the same. You know, he's 32 years old. He's a top pass rusher in the league. The future with him in Chicago probably doesn't make any sense. So I think if they can move him, whether it's in camp or whether it's, you know, preseason or at the trade deadline, I think it's going to happen at some point.
Going back to the office, Lester, you speaking of Luke Getsy, the new offensive coordinator, they're running kind of like a Kyle Shanahan style type offense. How much do you expect the Bears to run the ball this year? Because with new head coach Matt Eberflus coming over from Indianapolis, of course, Jonathan Taylor led the league in rushing last year. Do you expect the same from David Montgomery to lead the league in rushing? Not just that, but do you expect him to carry a ball a whole lot more in this offense, or do you think some of that he'll shoulder some of that low relief by Khalil Herbert, also the second-year running back?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a 50-50 split, but I would not be surprised Khalil Herbert to get a little more action than he did a season ago. Mm-hmm. You know, last year Herbert really only got time, you know, those 4 games when there was an injury to Montgomery. So, you know, this year, you know, the scheme will be a little bit more run heavy than what we've seen in the past. And that's good. That fits into what the Bears want to do. A lot of play action, a lot of bootleg stuff. So, you know, get the run game going with Montgomery and Herbert. I think both guys are good fits. With Herbert, he has a little bit more breakaway speed, but it's not like Montgomery is slow. I think he's fine. He'll still do some stuff on the inside zone stuff. He'll hit some wide zone stuff on occasion, but you know, it's a good mix for the Bears. It's a good problem to have 2 capable running backs in the NFL.
How big of an impact will N'Keal Harry have for the Bears? And of course, he was very highly touted, coming from Arizona State. Didn't work out over in New England. So now that he's been traded to the Bears, do you see him actually contributing right away?
Yeah, I think he'll contribute a little bit. It's hard to say how much. I mean, he's coming in probably as the X receiver right now. The Bears did sign Equanimeous St. Brown to kind of man that spot, but you know, now they have 2 guys there that can do that. Harry, of course, has a much higher pedigree, a former first-round draft pick. You know, he comes in. He's a pretty good blocker. So we'll kind of see how the Bears kind of incorporate his skill set into the team. But you know, another big-bodied player. We'll kind of see how he wins the job. But I do expect him to be on the team.
You're listening to Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, the Monday edition. Sid and Lakeena here with you. We're hanging out with our good friend Lester Wiltfong Jr. from Windy City Gridiron. Let's go to the offensive line with Lester. We have perhaps 2, perhaps 3 starters in Larry Borum, Tevin Jenkins, who I really like a lot. And of course, Cordy right here, the should be Pro Bowl veteran. There's 2 spots up left in the offensive line. Who's going to battle for those positions in camp?
The pickup of Michael Schofield today is really big for the team. I expected a veteran to be added at some point, and the Bears waited, right up until camp was about to start. So, I think he should slide right into the right guard spot, which now your interior should be set, with Whitehair, Patrick, and Schofield. So it's all about those tackles. I mean, right now they have three guys in competition there. Braxton Jones, the rookie's been getting some reps at the left side. Tevin Jenkins, some reps at the right side. Larry Borum on the right side. I think when it's all said and done, I think what probably happens is Jenkins, like you, I'm high on Jenkins. I loved his college tape. I thought he was, pretty good as a rookie in his few reps he did have. So I think once the pads come on, I think Jenkins will assert his dominance as a run blocker. He has pretty quick feet for a pass blocker. I think it's Jenkins on the right side. I think it's going to be Braxton Jones, the rookie, on the left side. And then I think Larry Borum is going to be your first tackle off the bench.
Going back to Schofield, he played in 15 games and 12 starts last season for the Chargers. And of course, for all you hockey fans out there, you know who his wife is, the very accomplished Kendall Coyne Schofield, who now works in the front office for the Blackhawks. Now, Velus Jones was someone that's, he's 25, I think he's 26 now, but that his age is a little bit of concern. Is it? Because I saw him at Tennessee, and I think he's a very productive player, even though the team wasn't very good. He was one of the few bright spots on there. So what do you think? Do you think you see him contributing right away?
Yeah, I think he'll be in the mix right away. I mean, it's 25, 26. I mean, this is a draft class. A lot of guys are a little older because of the COVID year. A lot of guys, elected to stay in an extra season. So the Bears have quite a few guys. It's not just the Bears; it's league wide. A lot of guys are a little older this year, but he comes in with a level of maturity. He understands his job as a pro, and he kind of has a bit of a leg up on some of the other really younger guys in camp because he does have that mentality. So I don't think he'll start off the bat. I think he's going to be in the mix, but as a returner, as kind of a gadget type player, they're going to scheme some looks for him. I mean, he has legit 4.3 speed. He's great with the ball in his hands. So I think it's a chance for the Bears to have a weapon here and to be another one of those guys that can help Justin Fields with some yards after the catch.
Sticking with that wide receiver group, Lester, Darnell Mooney, we saw some potential from him last year. We saw some flashes. Some people think that he could be a number one receiver. I don't see that just yet. We need to see more of him. What do you expect from the sophomore wide receiver in the Bears uniform for 2022?
Yeah, I mean, he had a pretty good year last year, 80 catches, 1,000 yards receiving. He may not be a traditional wide receiver one that a lot of guys think of when they look at him, but he is that for the Bears. I mean, he's their top targeted guy last year. He will be again this year. As long as he's healthy. I mean, he's a good route runner. He has great speed. Him and Justin Fields have a really good connection. So I'm expecting another big season from Mooney.
Now, I'll go to the defense for a second. They're going to a 4-4-3. The Bears are. And other than, do you think Eddie Jackson kind of be back to me in that productive corner safety, I should say, that we saw in those first few years?
He better. I mean, this is a much better scheme fit for him. He will be asked to play a bit more back in center field, kind of that style of play again. It's more read and react, a much more zone than we've seen in the last couple of years. Now, Eddie Jackson's pretty good covering out of the slot, but I think he'll thrive being able to be back. And if they can get Jaquan Brisker in camp, which is key, his skill set really matches what happens with Eddie Jackson back there.
Lester Wiltfong Jr. from Radio City Gridiron is joining us right here on the Second City Sports Monday edition, live and in living color on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid and Lakeena here with you. Staying with that defense, Jalen Johnson, when he's healthy, he's one of the best young defensive backs in the league. Who's going to compete to start alongside him in that second spot?
It's got to be Kyler Gordon, the rookie. I mean, he had some injuries during the OTAs. The Bears have kind of downplayed it. We'll kind of see what happens here with camp opening up here in a couple of days. But if he's healthy, I expect him to win that spot. I'm just not. I don't have a lot of belief in the guys that are there behind him. I think Kindle Vildor, he should be better in this scheme. He's physical. He is a little bit better in zone. So I think if a guy like him is forced to start, I think it's not the worst thing because, like I said, the scheme is a bit better for him. But it's got to be Gordon. Gordon and Johnson should make up a pretty good young secondary for the Bears.
Now going to that front seven, other than Robert Quinn and Roquan Smith, who can contribute right away in that scheme?
I think the two newcomers, Justin Jones and Nick Morrow, at D tackle and linebacker, I think those guys are going to be starters right off the start. And I believe both guys, coming off of pretty good seasons the last time they each played, they should really help. Again, it's all about the scheme fit. Justin Jones plays that 3-tech spot, something a little different than what he did with the Chargers, but I think he's a good fit for that. He has a good first step explosiveness. And then with Morrow, I think he just has the speed where it'd be a good complement to Roquan Smith.
Yeah, sticking with that linebacking core, of course, excluding Robert Cree, we assume that he's going to be gone prior to the season opener. You have Roquan Smith, but I'm looking at Travis Gibson. He looked great in spots last year. Do you think he'll be at least the second in tackles or perhaps sacks on this team this year as the Bears are transitioning to young and an active defense?
Yeah, he'll be in the mix for sure. I mean, right now they brought in Al-Qadim Muhammad from the Colts. He may be in line to start, with Quinn. If Quinn is traded, though, it's going to be Gibson's job right there. So I think with Gibson, whether he starts or not, he'll be in the mix off the edge quite a bit. He had like 7 sacks this season ago in spot starts. I think he had five forced fumbles. So I'm high on Gibson. I'm high on all the young passers for the Bears. There's a lot of talent there. Got to see them all step up. And I think the quicker they all step up, the quicker the Bears may be willing to trade Robert Quinn.
How about Cole Kmet? I mean, are we going to see him shining in this new offensive scheme? We haven't really seen it in the last couple of years since they drafted him. So are we going to actually see him a little bit more now?
I mean, I hope so. I think he's a good fit for the scheme. I mean, he is more of a traditional blocking tight end, the style that he plays. He's not really the move guy that the Bears kind of wanted him to be, but that's fine. I mean, he had 60 catches a season ago. He is productive for who he is. At that position, it takes guys a little bit longer to kind of, get ready for the NFL level. He was drafted, I think, at 21 years old. So he's still fairly young. But I think the production should be there. I'm not expecting a Pro Bowl out of Cole Kmet, but I think he for what the Bears want him to be, he could be very productive in this scheme.
We heading down the home stretch with our good friend Lester Wiltfong Jr. from Windy City Gridiron here on Second City Sports, the Monday edition, right here on Sports on Chicago. Sid and Lakeena here with you. Lester, I did bring up Justin Fields earlier, but I'll circle back to his position. And we all know this is a hot topic around these parts of Chicago, and that's the backup quarterback position. Maybe this is good that then we're not discussing this yet because camp hasn't started, but the Bears signed Trevor Siemian, Northwestern product, in the offseason, and they brought in Nathan Peterman. I cannot see from the light of me that the Bears are going to carry 3 quarterbacks. Justin Fields is going to be the starter, of course, but who's going to be the odd man out for his backup services?
Yeah, I think Peterman is destined for the practice squad. I mean, okay. I like you, I can't see the Bears carrying 3 quarterbacks. I think with the way the practice squad rules are the last couple of years, it gives us some flexibility. So it's good to have that number 3 guy being on the practice squad. And I think it's going to be Peterman. He's just, his career in the NFL has not been the best. He's okay as your 3, but you do not want to see Peterman forced into any kind of action at all for the Bears.
It'll be interesting to see in that. Now we'll see in that sense, because I think Peterman could be a good mentor for Fields, but like you said, I mean, it will be interesting if they may not. The training thing now is that not keeping 3 quarterbacks on the roster, so we'll see what happens there. Now, who on the O-line? We talked about Jenkins earlier and Larry Borum. Who else in that O-line could perhaps maybe be as a starter?
Yeah, we talked about the guys kind of mostly in the mix. They had Sam Musfer was lined up at right guard, but with the brand new signing today with Schofield, he's kind of moved to the bench. He should be your swing guy. The one guy to kind of look out for, possibly it could be the mixer, is rookie Zach Thomas at right guard. He's a converted tackle. But I like his upside. I like watching his film. I think his skill set works good at guard. It'll be fun to watch him in camp, see how he competes for that right guard spot.
Head coach Matt Eberflus, when he was introduced to the Chicago media months ago, Lester, I got the impression that he's going to hold guys accountable, which this team lacked under the Matt Nagy era, and he's going to go back to the old school Lovie Smith type of way of, especially on defenses, getting guys in shape, and so they attack the ball carrier and create turnovers. What was your first impressions listening to Matt Eberflus throughout the offseason in his pressers to the media?
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't my top choice, when the Bears were actually trying to find a brand new head coach. But since they brought him in, every time he's had a chance to talk, I really like his philosophy. I think it is going to be a good fit for this Bears. It's a good culture shift, going from what they had with Nagy. Not to say it was a bad culture prior, but it's just different. The accountability, the hits principle he's putting in there, the tracking the loafs. It reminds Bears fans what they had back in the Lovie Smith years. So it's a good defense. It's not the same Tampa 2 that Bears ran back then. There's been a lot of tweaks to it made, which obviously it has to be more modernized for today's NFL. But I think it's a good defense. It's a good philosophy to have, and I'm excited to see how the defense all comes together.
Now, how about on the offense? Now, you said earlier that you think that Fields could probably shine this particular scheme. Do you think so, or are you worried about the O-line, on what they may or may not be able to do, trying to protect him?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about the O-line, but today's signing kind of helps that a little bit. Again, if the interior is solidified, there's some things you can work around with tackle. If one of those tackles really steps up and excels, I think they'll be fine. Again, right now it's 3 young guys all competing for the tackle spot, but this scheme, it's a proven scheme. It's a little more run heavy, like I said. It's the bootlegs, it's the play action. It's things we saw Justin Fields thrive at a season ago. His numbers. When he for the play action passes, he was really good in. He was really good when he was throwing the ball, when he was outside the pocket. Those 2 things he'll be asked to do in this scheme. For some reason, Matt Nagy didn't want to let him do it very often last year, even though he was good at it. So I think what he does, what he brings to the table, is a great fit for this new scheme. Plus, they're building the scheme around him and his skill set. So we should see some runs. He has 4.4 speed. So get him out on the move. Let him make some plays with his feet. I think it's going to be fun for Bears fans.
Last moment or two with Lester Wiltfong Jr. from Windy City Gridiron right here on Sports Zone Chicago, Second City Sports. Sid and Lakeena here with you. Lester, for those of you watching on YouTube, obviously, and those of you that especially listening back on our replay at War and going on the podcast, I have a picture of Roquan Smith behind me in the new Bears orange color rush uniforms. What do you think about those uniforms? They're going to wear it twice in the 2022 season. Do you like them, or you just ditch them?
I am not a fan of the orange jersey, so I'm even less a fan of the orange helmet. But I understand it's all about marketing. It's about the product on the field. So I understand why they're doing the brand new helmets. I would have liked to see them, though, instead of the classic C. If you're going to go alternate, mix it up. Have the bear on the side of the helmet or something else like that. But it is what it is. It's fine. I'm just not a fan of orange as the primary color.
Yeah, like the old Orange Crush from back in the day, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's sort of like, like very like a tangerine orange type of thing. So yeah, it could be a little bit of acquired taste for some people now. Lester, and we'll probably have you on, halfway through the season when the Bears go on by now with a quote unquote easy schedule. I'm doing the air quotes here for those of you who are watching this on YouTube and on Roku and on the Facebook. What do you think the record's going to be? The Bears record, I should say.
I mean, it would be nice if they're pushing for a playoff spot. And in the NFC, it's possible. I mean, anything's possible in the NFC. But I'm thinking if they're around 6-7 wins, I think that would be fine. As long as the young players, Justin Fields, Tevin Jenkins, as long as these guys are developing and we're seeing that progress, because, the way the roster is constructed, it's more of a build for the future kind of thing. So I'm guessing 6 wins, maybe 7 wins. If everything goes perfect, maybe they're pushing, closer to 8. But I'd be okay with the losing record, as like I said, as long as the young guys are developing and as long as we see the potential from Justin Fields.
Last question from me, Lester. The San Francisco 49ers coming here to Soldier Field to face the Bears on the opening day on September 11th. Who do you think the starting quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers would be?
It's got to be the rookie Lance. I think they're going to trade Garoppolo at some point. Even if they don't trade him, I think that franchise is ready. I think they want to go to the young guy. They want to see what he has, and he'll bring that excitement because he has the speed. He has a really strong arm. I just think they're ready to make a change. They just seem like they don't believe in Garoppolo long term. So pull the Band-Aid off. Get the young guy in there.
All right, Lester, thank you again, as always. Thank you so much for joining us today. Where people can find you and all your great content on Windy City Gridiron.
WindyCityGridiron.com. We have a podcast channel as well. We got a video channel, Second City Gridiron. And then, of course, I'm on Twitter at Wiltfong JR.
All right, Lester, thank you very much for joining us once again on the program today. You keep up the great work, young man. As Lakeena said, we'll have you on again at some point this season. And it should be an interesting one, good, bad, and or ugly. So the Bears always give us a lot to talk about. This season shouldn't be any different. Thank you once again for joining us. You could much continued success, okay?
Anytime. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lester. Stay safe.
You too.
All
right,
right,
once again, that's Lester Wiltfong Jr. from Windy City Gridiron joining us here on Second City Sports, the Monday edition, live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Lakeena, we have a couple minutes left before we close up shop for hour number one. I'll be honest with you, Lakeena, maybe when the day actually comes, we actually start to see and hear some progress. I'll probably get more excited, but I don't know about you. I am excited, but I'm not excited. You know what I'm saying? Because we heard all the hype throughout the off season. Excuse me. What is head coach Matt Eberflus going to do? What are the players are going to look like? There's almost so many limited activities they could do in these off season mini camps and what have you. But we really going to start to see the real deal come Wednesday when the whole team hosts its first practice at Hallis Hall in Lake Forest.
Yeah, we'll get to the real meat and potatoes of it, especially once we start doing our divisional previews. But I feel like, look, Michael Schofield, he was actually a really solid O-line guy, and also some of the other guys that they picked up as well. So, I mean, N'Keal Harry, I mean, I'm not really expecting too much from him. I mean, this scheme is more sort of, subtle for him. But again, you don't know what you're going to get from them and from that O-line. Like I said, that O-line, and we've been talking about this for the last few weeks since we started counting down. That O-line is really the concern. I mean, will Jenkins stay healthy? That's another thing. And how about the new guys like Willie Wright and Lucas Patrick? I mean, how are those guys are going to look? And also on the defense, this is going to look a completely different defense. The one really two of your solid guys. I mean, Robert Quinn, he might be gone before halfway through the season, and we know that Khalil Mack is gone too, so that's going to be interesting. And also too, a lot of the O's is going to be on Roquan and see what he does and such, especially now he's on a contract year. How motivated will he be? So that whole thing, I mean, like I said, I'm not expecting much from the Bears either, but like I said, that'll be fun to talk about if nothing else, and we'll see how Justin Fields is, and hopefully he'll stay upright for the most part. I mean, I know they have a an easy schedule. Again, I'm doing the air quotes again. Yeah. But I'm
joining with you.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm not expecting a lot. What about you?
Like I said, I'll give out my final predictions once the preseason closes out. But I'm with you. I'm pessimistic, but kind of optimistic at the same time with the offensive line. Of course, that's been the problem over the last 3 or 4 years. I like Tevin Jenkins a lot. I told you, Lakeena, we talked about it last year. He stood up for his teammates during the Monday night game against Minnesota last year. That should be the template of this Bears team. If you're not going to are willing to go out and help your teammate and stand next to your brother, you shouldn't be on the team. So I like Tevin Jenkins a lot, but the success of any quarterback, in particular Justin Fields, who's trying to find out if he's a franchise quarterback or not, is going to depend on the health of the offensive line and whoever that starting group of offensive linemen will be. You know this, Lakeena. It takes time for them to get the schemes down, to gel together, both on and off the field, to get the system down. So those things take time, and this is going to be an important year in training camp to help figure that out.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with that one. Now, I saw if you saw the press conference Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot did just a little bit ago, and apparently, I guess they have like a footprint of the new potential dome over Soldier Field. I mean, it doesn't look too bad, but it might be too little, too late. I mean, they may be trying to maybe do some other stuff with it, but I don't know if you saw it yet, Sid. But what
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I'll say look it up during the break. I know it's already like making the rounds on Twitter and such. So what sort of but I think look, this will probably won't be official with the Arlington thing until like maybe the end of the year. So a lot can still happen, but I don't know. I mean, it's just sort of like it's else.
Here's the thing, Lakeena. We talked about this before. Okay, let's just say they get the approval, quote unquote, approval to put I'll call it the winter hat over the Soldier Field. Does that guarantee you a Final Four? No, Does it guarantee you a Super Bowl? No. That stadium's still 40,000 seat capacity strong. By them moving out, and I read an article, I forgot where I read it this morning, but the NFL wants the Bears to move out to Arlington Heights because they could build that 60 to 80,000 seat stadium. The Bears would control a whole lot more of that parking money along with other concessions and restaurants around that new stadium. Right now, they don't control that money as far as Soldier Field's concerned because that's owned by the Chicago Park District. So by them moving out to Arlington Heights business-wise, it's going to help them a lot. So I'm with you that dome project is too little too late. Yes, a lot still can happen, but business-wise, it helps them to move out to Arlington Heights. As we said before, it's going to bring a whole lot of other events, and not just sporting events, but outside of sports as well, but definitely other sporting events as the Big Ten football championship, basketball too, if you don't want to play at the United Center, but me personally, I like it at the UC, but the Big Ten Conference Football Championship, a Super Bowl, an NCAA College Basketball Final Four, or maybe when the college football playoff expands in a few years, a site for a college football playoff. I'm just throwing it out there.
Or just a college bowl game in general. I mean, they
exactly.
Yeah. Why not? So, why not there? So, yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm sure we'll be talking about this again, coming up in the coming months.
Again.
So, again, yeah. So we'll move right along. So hour number 1 in the books, hour number 2 still straight ahead. We're going to recap the Baseball Hall of Fame ceremonies yesterday. Couple of long overdue inductions, enshrinements, I should say. Also, too, could Jason Benetti be on his way to Fox? Also, too, we got all kinds of cool NFL stuff coming up.
Yes, it has a list. It has a list.
Yes, he does.
Well, somebody else, too, but we'll review it.
Well, yeah, and also too, are we doing old school TV Monday, Sid?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
All right, let me just see what show. Like I said, I don't know until he tells me. So you're pretty surprised like I am. But with that said, Sydney Brown, Lakeena McGee, Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. We'll stay right there for hour number 2.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
Here's a deep drive to left off the bat of Velasquez. Get out the tape measure, long gone.
The action on the Cubs radio network, 4-3 the win over the Phillies on Sunday. Yan Gomes hit a pair of home runs, helping the Cubs complete a 3-game sweep. Nelson Velasquez also went deep for Chicago, who've won 4 straight. Drew Smyly retired his first 14 batters. He gave up 1 earned run on 4 hits with 4 strikeouts and no walks. David Robertson pitched out of a jam in a scoreless 9th for his 14th save of the season.
Back, and that baby's gone. 3-run homer.
The action on the White Sox radio network, 6-3 the win over the Guardians on Sunday in Chicago. The American League Central rivals split a 4-game series. The White Sox third in the division, 4 games out of first. The Guardians are second, 3 games behind the first place Twins. Just days away from the start of Bears training camp, all players due to report by tomorrow. The first public practice this Thursday at 10 a.m.
For lightning fast sports updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of the most popular sports apps in North America. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
I want to make the most of summer without breaking the bank. So I shopped Kohl's Friends and Family Sale. With my 25% off coupon, I headed to the store and got shorts for $14.99, plus an extra 50% off a swimsuit, 40% off patio furniture, and $20 off as a Kohl's Rewards member. More style and more savings for the win. Select styles, $20 off of $100 valid in store only. 25% offer ends July 31st in store only. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
This is a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup sound experiment. We're looking to find the perfect way to hear Reese's so you'll buy more of them. Here we go. Reese's, 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 Reese's. Hey, get out of here, you little stinker.
Reese's.
Reese's. Reese's.
Peanut Butter Cups. That breathy one sounded very creepy, am I right?
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports. We're live in the 11 color of the Monday edition right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeena McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Make sure you go to Sports Zone Chicago on Facebook or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comment section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. We have less than an hour left of this extravaganza we call it Sports Talk Radio Show. And don't you forget, you can watch us now on Roku TV. That's right. Roku TV is your new home to catch Sports Zone Chicago. That's right. Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku TV. You have a Roku television already. Just click on the sports section and type in Sports Zone Chicago. The app will go right there next to that HBO Max app, all the other apps that you have displayed on your television screen. If you don't have a Roku television, what are you waiting for? Purchase a Roku television today, or you can download the Roku TV app on your laptop, iPhone, any other listening and watching viewable device. And you can access our program live or on demand 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and 7 days a week. So once again, Roku TV is now available. Sports on Chicago is now available, rather, on Roku TV.
All right, and also I want to pay off that question you asked earlier. That was a former Cub, Ryan Sweeney, who was part of that telecast with Jason Benetti and John Kruk yesterday with the Cubs and Phillies game on Peacock. We'll get to Mr. Benetti, some news about him, potentially in just a bit. But we're gonna go to Cooperstown for a second and talk some Baseball Hall of Fame, of course. David Ortiz, Big Papi. Headlined the class of 2022. Also, some among others, Minnie Minoso, also had Buck O'Neill, both long overdue. Tony Oliva and Tim Kurchin also got into the Hall of Fame as well to be at the Veterans Committee. So I know I didn't watch it, unfortunately. I also got little snippets and such. So I know you saw the highlights too, sis. So what was your sort of synopsis of the ceremony?
First of all, going to Minnie Minoso's widow, she did a great job representing her husband and the Minoso family with her speech yesterday, talking about how Minnie Minoso was embraced by the city of Chicago because he has so much love, not only for his culture, but for the White Sox as well. He played with them in 5 different stints, and he was involved with the game of baseball for over 7 decades, of course. Minnie Minoso, Mr. White Sox, for all time. He was the first Afro-Cuban player to play on the White Sox, and he made the White Sox what it is today. There was a struggling franchise, especially coming off the 1919 scandal in the World Series. For those of you that don't know about that, as Lakeena would say, Google is your friend, and check out that movie 8 Men Alpha back in the day. That gives you a whole lot more detail on that. Mm-hmm. But between at that time in the 50s when Minoso arrived in Chicago, the White Sox were historically franchised. He helped turn that franchise around and put it on the map and what it is today. And so his widow talked about his impact on and off the field. He was a mentor to not only the Cuban players on the White Sox, but a few others around baseball as well. So it was nice to hear and see that connection from old school to new school into the current players that are playing right now, especially on the White Sox with Jose Abreu. You can see many of the traits in Minnie Minoso in Jose Abreu right now.
Yeah, it was a sort of a nice moment yesterday. I saw that, and it was unfortunate that he died a few years ago. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to get in, while he was with us, because we know how funny and engaging guy, he was. So that would have been, we were kind of robbed of that. But Big Papi David Ortiz. I mean, of course, it was funny. It was heartfelt. We got a little bit of Spanish into it as well. So definitely. And people forget that he actually started his career with the Twins. He was drafted by the Twins.
Yeah, he killed the White Sox. Yeah.
Yes, he did. He was a White Sox killer when he was with the Twins.
Yeah, he put the real quickly, Kenny. He helped put the Twins on the map. Remember that year in 2001 when they surprised everybody and winning the division over the White Sox and everybody else. It was him, Torrey Hunter, LaTroy Hawkins, Johan Santana, and when David Ortiz was part of that early group that helped put the Minnesota Twins for this era on the map.
Yeah, and then also, people forget that was because that was like sort of like a big dip between when they last won the World Series in '91 up until that 0-1 team that went into that nice little run. So unfortunately, they couldn't really capitalize on that. So they broke that particular core up. But it was
Mhm.
sort of nice to see, sort of celebrating, and also to shouting out to that one. Also to Buck O'Neill, of course, the Negro Leagues and such,
Mhm.
and finally getting in. I'm sure, because I know his family's been lobbying for a long time, so it was really nice to see him and to get celebrated. And thankfully, more and more Negro League players and contributors are going into the Hall of Fame in recent years. So I think that's a good thing. So
Yes.
I think that's definitely sort of like opens up and I like the fact that MLB is becoming more and more inclusive when it comes to Negro Leagues, and having the history be told and such. So that's really nice to see.
Yes, even though some of them did play in the major leagues and others didn't because of obvious circumstances, they need to be recognized more, not just putting a bubble for them to be recognized, not just on Black History Month or opening day of baseball, but all year round and for eternity for all of us to be educated on the Negro Leagues. Going back to David Ortiz's speech, Lakeena, did you catch the part in the beginning where he did thank the Minnesota Twins? But this, I'll be honest, I didn't know until I heard the speech yesterday. The reason why David Ortiz wears number 34 is because of a Chicago connection, and his name is the late great Kirby Puckett. Of course,
Mhm.
I knew about Kirby Puckett. I watched him. Of course, he did damage against everybody, including the White Sox. Of course, during that time, the White Sox had the team to perhaps win the World Series in the early 90s. Obviously, they didn't get it done, but even though those Minnesota teams weren't as good, looking at after that 91 World title that you talked about, but they still had a couple consistent players, and Kirby Puckett was one of them. So David Ortiz did shout out Kirby Puckett, and that was the reason why he wore number 34. Of course, he couldn't wear it in Minnesota because Kirby Puckett's number is retired. So David Ortiz wore number 27 when he was with the Twins. And, of course, he switched to 34 when we got to Boston. But he did give a big shout out to Kirby Puckett. It was the reason why he wears number 34. It's like, I didn't know that, but interesting.
Yeah, it was actually pretty cool. A nice little shout out there. And such. I know he kind of modeled his game after him. So I think that's sort of, of course, he did it in space. So that's a pretty nice tribute there as well. And a nice shout out to, Tony Oliva. I know he's been, knocking on the door for the Hall of Fame for a while. Also to Jim Catt. 83, still, sharp as a tad, and, very,
Yeah.
had, pitched 25 seasons over 4 decades from 1959 to 1983. Talk about, durability and versatility. I mean, he played all the way back into when it was the Senators.
Yeah, to the time we were born, Lakeena, we know him as a broadcaster, but
yes.
yeah, he pitched for a long time.
Yeah, currently with the MLB Network. Also, Gil Hodges as well. Want to give him a shout out as well. He also got in along with going in. So it was actually going to be like a great ceremony too. I'm sure it's on YouTube. I'm sure if you guys missed, I'm sure MLB Network, who has exclusive coverage of that, I'm sure they'll probably repeat it again throughout the week. So make sure you guys check your listings or just go on YouTube.
Yeah, and also too, a great shout out to Chicago's 6'7" scores Lawrence Holmes. The White Sox let him do a nice 2-minute video tribute piece to Minnie Minoso. For those of you haven't gotten a chance to watch it, go to the Chicago White Sox official YouTube page and catch it right there. It's a 2-minute video with Lawrence Holmes narrating a tribute to Minnie Minoso, Mr. White Sox. It was very good.
Yeah, it was. So yeah, so make sure you guys go through Lawrence's Twitter account, or I'm sure the Score probably has it on their Twitter account. They may have it on their website too. So make sure if you guys didn't see it yet, go through Lawrence's Twitter, or go to 670 The Score's Twitter or website. I'm sure it's only 2 minutes, but it's really well done.
Yep. You're listening to Second City Sports or Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeena McGee, which is she. I'm Cindy Brown. Hey, that's me. And speaking of the White Sox, Lakeena, Jason Benetti perhaps is making a big jump, as we often see in this message. You have some news about that.
Yes, I do. This news kind of came out like over the weekend, like right after we dispersed, Sid, and shout out to our friends at Off One announcing, and he could perhaps maybe be making on the move, Mr. Benetti, to Fox to become the number 2 college football broadcast team, along with Brock Heward, another former ESPNer. Nothing's officially, of course, Brett Murphy from the Action Network, he confirmed it, although nothing's official yet. But if it is official, he'll be doing something. He'll still be with the White Sox. For all you White Sox fans that are freaking out, he'll still be doing White Sox games, but he won't be doing any Peacock games anymore. This is according to Jeff Gress from the Chicago Sun Times. He is the first to report this, so shout out to Mr. Gress, and he'll be doing college football. He'll be doing college hoops. Of course, they've got the Big East contract, and of course, you got that Big Ten contract coming up as well. So he's only he's only a couple of years younger than us, but he's only 38, but his star has completely but look how much he's accomplished and such. So he's just a great broadcaster, a great sense of humor. And if this is official, again, we'll let you guys know when it is officially official. But they're getting a good one, of course, with Joe Davis now doing baseball. Perhaps there is that he's going to be the number 2 guy on the NFL side. That opens up the door for college football guy. And of course, we know Jason has done college football, college hoops, baseball, everything. So this would be a really good opportunity for him to be sort of like expand his brand nationally.
Yeah, this is a good move for him. Like you said, he was middle of the totem pole at ESPN, and I remember him doing those Big 12 games for college basketball, and of course the lower 10 of those ACC games for ESPN. But like you said, with the money that these networks are shelling out for these conferences, that's going to give him a bigger profile, and he's going to be seeing a lot more homes as these college teams continue to expand jump conferences to these bigger conferences. So this is a great move for him. As I said before, I thought he should have been the voice of Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN TV. Obviously, that's not the case, but congratulations to him. That's what hard work pays off. That's what being ambitious is about, and that's what great talent is. And you see it in Mr. Benetti. So good luck to him. We'll definitely be tuning in. I know that for sure.
Yeah, I'm about to say he was going. Yeah, like you say, he was doing mostly a group of 5 games, college football games, let's just say, for ESPN. So he'll be doing, Big Ten. I'm sure he's going to be probably maybe doing some Pac-12 as well. Now, with UCLA, USC, notwithstanding. But it'll be interesting to see what he does. And look, ESPN has a nice little depth of talent. We know that, but this is a big loss for them. It should this becomes a fit.
Yeah. Before we move on, Lakeena, I know Link Casper, the radio voice of the White Sox, he did the Fox game for the Sox and Guardians on Saturday. He went back to radio yesterday as Peacock did the Peacock, as Jason Benetti did the Peacock game yesterday with the Cubs and Phillies. Shout out to Connor McKnight, who got his first television debut yesterday. He crushed it.
Yes, he did.
Filled in for Benetti on NBC Sports Chicago.
Yep. Good job, as always. And we know Len's very versatile. He can do both radio and television. We saw him do it for years here with the Cubs. So just an awesome job. And so like I said, we have a good depth of talent on for here in Chicago. So this is really cool.
All right, Second City Sports, the Monday edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakeena. Let's jump back into the football. Gridiron, Lakeena, as we always say, the NFL doesn't disappoint us with the news all year round. And before I get to my list, we have a new media group, as you want to call them, in the bidding for the NFL Sunday ticket package, which is up after this upcoming season.
Yeah, it is. And we'll start with this first because this came out like early this morning. NFL Plus has officially launched, and it's an app that you get like out of market games and such. So you still won't be, it's still blacked out, so you won't get those out of market games and such. But this is sort of like an extra thing, I guess. It'll be streaming and whatnot. So what do you think about this? I know you saw this morning because it came out like I was on the on the elliptical when I saw this news. You got premium version, features a product formerly known as NFL Game Pass. So this is sort of like a NFL Game Pass on steroids, I guess. No pun intended. But.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it any better. I know it's $40.99 a month from what I read this morning. And if you want people to pay premium prices for your service, you got to offer more than just games. So you have behind the scenes footage. You have I know there's another service that they had last year. I don't know if they're going to continue with this, but they had the coaches tape up all 22. All 22 as far as all the plays in the teams are concerned. So will they have exclusive team content related to your favorite team or your local market? We shall see. But I think this is a good move for the NFL. They know they have the number one product in the country. We know that it's the number one TV show in the United States. So it's almost what they do. They can't do no wrong. But of course, a whole lot of NFL fans, they're passionate fans, they're going to jump on this. And as long as you give the NFL fan more they can bite more than they can chew, they'll be fine.
Yeah, also you give like we've been saying for months that people need options. So I think
Yes.
this will be like a nice sort of thing. So it's $4.99 a month, like I said, and yeah. So if it's something that you guys want, I don't know if I would want this, but look, if this is something that like an extra thing for all the cord cutters and such, this might be a nice option for them. You can do it on your mobile, you can do it on your laptop or on your tablet. This is actually I guess the ever evolving NFL network. But going back to what we said earlier about there's a new surprise bid, is according to Andrew Marchand in the New York Post. Google Google has put in a bid for
Google!
the NFL Sunday. Yeah, for NFL Sunday Ticket. For those who are wondering how would they do this, well, I'll tell you. It'll be streamed through YouTube. Now, I don't know if this is going to be YouTube. YouTube, do you have to pay something? You have to do YouTube Premium, YouTube TV, we have to pay for. It's going to be free through YouTube. You got to pay like a nice setting there. So, yeah, they joined Apple, Amazon, and Disney. So, Sid, what do you think about this? Google putting in a bid for NFL Sunday Ticket.
Yeah, I found it shocking, but as we talked about before, these streaming services outside of Netflix won in on the NFL because, like I said before, it's the number one product. And like you just mentioned a moment ago, how will Google do this? Will they do it through YouTube TV? Will they do it from another streaming service that we haven't heard of yet? It's going to be interesting. I know Amazon they're doing their Thursday night package starting this year, but I think there's Apple TV is still the front runner right now. So what can Google do? As I said before, with the NFL Plus, are you going to offer more? It depends on how much it is. Are you going to offer more just the main service? You got to give people enticing more to buy your product.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of be the thing. Now, again, how much is it going to be? Should Google get it? Like you said, they got YouTube Premium, they got YouTube TV, and how are this going to be? Are they going to have like in market, through YouTube, or have it like on YouTube TV or YouTube Premium? How would they do this? So I don't know. I mean, this is sort of like kind of like a sort of word that Google would put in a bid, but I'm sure they probably think, hey, Amazon and Disney, hey, why can't we Apple, like why can't we do it? So like, yeah, sure, what the heck? So we'll put in a bid, and we probably may not get it, but look, why not? It doesn't. You can't blame them for trying.
Yeah, you cannot blame Google for trying. So as they always say, you don't know what you can do unless you try. Correct?
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. Like I said, it'll still be on Sunday. It'll still be on DirecTV. This is the last year for DirecTV. This is for next year. So, those of you who are wondering what this means. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I know that Goodell has said that they may make an announcement during the season. Who knows? But I don't know. I mean, like I said, there's definitely a lot of options.
Yep, and we'll see what happens there. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, the Monday edition, live in the 11 colors. Sid and Lakeena here with you. Now it's time to get to the list that I found over a week ago. We were supposed to talk about this last week, Lakeena, but we got caught up in other interesting issues and topics. But this is a good thing about our show. We still have time to talk about relevant topics. And as we said before, keeping with the NFL theme, they never seem to disappoint. This comes from Jeff Kerr from CBSSports.com. He has a top 10 list of the best NFL quarterback and coach combo duos for this upcoming season. Do you want to start from the top or start from the bottom up?
Let's do the bottom.
All right, perfect. And I'm glad you said this. Coming in at number 10, quarterback Kyler Murray and head coach Cliff Kingsbury from the Arizona Cardinals. As we talked about last week, Kyler Murray got fresh cash. Cliff Kingsbury got that contract extension around this time before the start of last season. We all know what Arizona did. Jumping out to the 8-1 start, Kyler Murray got nicked up, so Arizona struggled down the stretch. Wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins, who was injured last year, he'll start out the year with a 6-game suspension due to PEDs. The Arizona Cardinals, even though Kyler Murray will be sticking around as their franchise quarterback, I believe they still have work to do. So coming in at number 10 is the best QB and coach duo in the league for this upcoming season is Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury from the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay. All right. I can kind of see that putting them at 10. I'm okay with that.
Coming in at number 9 from the Los Angeles Chargers, or the San Diego Chargers of Los Angeles, as we call them on this show, quarterback Justin Herbert entering his 3rd year out of Oregon and his 2nd year head coach Brandon Staley.
Yeah.
We don't have to go over Brandon Staley's resume or what he did last year.
Yeah, we won't. I mean, we'll probably get on him when we talk about the AFC West, because
Right, but not today. Not today.
not today. But yeah, I mean, look, yeah, solid. Look, Herbert had a really great sophomore season. Only 15 interceptions with 38 touchdowns. I think. I think we'll see. I'm sure the pressure's going to be on them. They made some moves, during the offseason. Again, we'll talk about once we get into individual divisions. But yeah, okay, number 9. I can take that.
Okay. Continuing with the list from Jeff Kerr from CBSSports.com as the top 10 best QB coach combo for this upcoming season. Checking in at number 8, America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, quarterback Dak Prescott and head coach Mark McCarthy. This is a big year for both of them, but in particular that head coach, especially after what happened in that playoff game against San Francisco at home last year. No say it.
Yeah, I'll say I think there's something else to need to be said about that. Threw for almost 4,500 yards, 37 touchdowns, and only 10 interceptions. But it was actually really the coaching that kind of killed the Cowboys, especially in that, that divisional playoff. But yeah, nothing else needed to really be said. We'll get, like I said, we'll get on the most we do to NFC East. But yeah, keep going.
Checking in at number 7, the Tennessee Titans, quarterback Ryan Tannehill and head coach Mike Vrabel. We all know what happened last year. They lost to the AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals at home. Derrick Henry was injured halfway through that season. They still checked into the playoffs as the number 1 seed. Didn't get it done. But like you said, Lakeena, we'll get more deep into as we do our divisional previews coming up in the next month or so. But the Tennessee Titans, they're at an interesting crossroads this year. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I'll say, no A.J. Brown. So he's in Philly. So I guess all the others is going to be on Derrick Henry now. I mean, what's going on here? But okay, 21 touchdowns for Tannehill and 14 receptions. Not sort of stats. I mean, very disappointing end to their season last year. All right, let's keep going. I'm getting depressed. Let's keep going if you're a Titans fan.
I want to get into this. Like I said, we'll finish up the list on the other side of this break. But check it in at number 6 is, according to Jeff Kerr, CBSSports.com, the best QB coach duo for this upcoming season. At number 6, the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson, who's looking for some fresh cash, and head coach John Harbaugh.
Now, this is interesting because, like I said, we'll get more in depth, but I mean, injuries, last year, I think that sort of, kind of derailed it. He only had 16 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. That's not good. And with all the injuries, I said, with it started off with Dalmas in training camp, then it kind of manifests after that. So, I mean, hopefully, money, that whole money thing doesn't become a distraction. But, again, we'll see. I mean, like I said, I think the value will be soft there, but again, I'm sure I don't want to say Harbaugh's on the hot seat either because he had their first losing season since 2015. But you got, but like I said, we'll get more in depth, but this is gonna be very interesting for the Ravens. Again, like I said, when we talk about the AFC North, we'll get more in depth into it. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a very interesting year for the Ravens.
Here's the thing. Lamar Jackson, if he stays healthy, he's going to have a big year because, like you say, he has something to play for besides a Super Bowl. And the Ravens could be in a transition as well. Lakeena, like you mentioned, we all know what happened with the injuries, especially to Lamar last year. But the AFC North, it could be a little bit tougher than what people think. Of course, you have the defending conference champion and division champion Cincinnati Bengals in there. You have Pittsburgh there going through a transition right now. And you have Cleveland as well. We'll get to Deshaun Watson and that whole nonsense at another time. But this division could be had after Cincinnati, at least on paper. But Baltimore is at a crossroads as well. I know they had a player that passed away during the offseason, so they had to deal with that. But as far as their roster, who's Lamar Jackson going to throw to? And their defense is still a above average defense, but they may be going through a transition as a group as well for this upcoming year.
Like I said, it's gonna be like I said, it's gonna be interesting here in Baltimore. With all the changes and such. So yeah, this is gonna be interesting. Plus, they got a pretty decent schedule too, the Ravens too. So again, I'm a little it's gonna get interesting. Like I said, sort of like that little sense of okay. you can't really play on injuries anymore now that
Yeah.
everyone's healthy for the most part and everything else. So yeah, this is gonna be it's gonna be interesting here in Baltimore.
Yeah, usually when you miss the playoffs, it depends on what your record is. You usually get a third or fourth place schedule. So we'll see what happens if the Ravens can take advantage of that. Lakeena, we have to take a timeout. We got to rest up, get our engines going because we got to finish up the last segment of the show strong. We'll come back with the rest of John Kerr's list. Sorry, Jeff Kerr's list for CBSSports.com as far as the best QB coach combo for this upcoming 22 season in NFL. We have some more sports media news, and we had to get to our salute to old school TV Monday. You're going to like this one, especially for you folks that are our age and older. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. You're listening to the Second City Sports Monday edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
Here's a deep drive to left off the bat of Velasquez. Get out the tape measure, long gone.
The action on the Cubs radio network, 4-3 the win over the Phillies on Sunday. Yan Gomes hit a pair of home runs, helping the Cubs complete a 3-game sweep. Nelson Velasquez also went deep for Chicago, who've won 4 straight. Drew Smyly retired his first 14 batters. He gave up 1 earned run on 4 hits with 4 strikeouts and no walks. David Robertson pitched out of a jam in a scoreless 9th for his 14th save of the season.
Back, and that baby's gone. 3-run homer.
The action on the White Sox radio network, 6-3 the win over the Guardians on Sunday in Chicago. The American League Central rivals split a 4-game series. The White Sox third in the division, 4 games out of first. The Guardians are second, 3 games behind the first place Twins. Just days away from the start of Bears training camp, all players due to report by tomorrow. The first public practice this Thursday at 10 a.m.
For lightning fast sports updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of the most popular sports apps in North America. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
I want to make the most of summer without breaking the bank. So I shopped Kohl's Friends and Family Sale. With my 25% off coupon, I headed to the store and got shorts for $14.99, plus an extra 50% off a swimsuit, 40% off patio furniture, and $20 off as a Kohl's Rewards member. More style and more savings for the win. Select styles, $20 off of $100 valid in store only. 25% offer in July 31st in store only. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
This is a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup sound experiment. We're looking to find the perfect way to hear Reese's so you'll buy more of them. Here we go. Reese's, 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 Reese's. Hey, get out of here, you little stinker.
Reese's.
Reese's. Reese's.
Peanut Butter Cups. That breathy one sounded very creepy, am I right?
Welcome back to Second City Sports. We're live in the living color, the Monday edition, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at CK80. Once again, it's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena McGee on the IG.
And make sure we have less than a half hour left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You have any questions or comments for us, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. Continuing with the list from Jeff Kerr, CBSSports.com, as the top 10 quarterback coach combos for this upcoming 22 NFL season. We'll resume and finish off the list. Check it in at number 5, the defended AFC Conference champion Cincinnati Bengals, third-year quarterback now, Joe Burrow from LSU, and head coach Zach Taylor, who perhaps saved his job with a surprising season.
Yeah, this is sort of one of those questions where will they suffer from the Super Bowl hangover? Well, history says that they will. I know they've made some upgrades and such, especially with their O-line, but look, we've seen this where it doesn't matter how much improvement that you do or enhancements that you do on other sides, but could they perhaps join as some of the other teams, and could they have to have like maybe the worst? They went from the worst records to probably one of the better records. But again, you're going to be playing this first place schedule, so I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if they avoid that hangover, but it's just natural. We know Joe Burrow had 34 touchdowns and only 14 interceptions last year, which is great. But again, you're not going to be able to surprise folks anymore if you're Cincinnati. So some people might look at this and say, well, they're not easy, but again, you're kind of like in a show me mode too if you're a Bengals fan. I think even Bengals fans were probably shocked that they got to the Super Bowl. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, their schedule is tough. I took a peek at their schedule. It's very tough. So, and with the Super Bowl hangover, you may see maybe not too big of a drop off, but it's natural you're going to see a drop off.
And also, too, I like to see what is now second-year wide receiver Jamar Chase will do out of LSU. We saw the potential that he did last year on one of the best rookie seasons on paper in NFL history. I want to see what he does for a sophomore year campaign. It's going to be a while before he asks for big money. So you Cincinnati fans, you don't have to worry about that. But if he keeps up on this trajectory pace, he's going to demand a lot of the money in about 3 years here once his rookie deal is up.
Yeah, but it's going to be interesting to see. You're going to see folks are going to be more ready for him now, and I think that's going to be sort of the key here.
That's what I want to see what he does this year.
Yeah, so you're not going to be able to surprise folks anymore, So it's going to be interesting that they have to play Dallas. They got to play New Orleans. We'll see where they are. They got to play Tennessee and Kansas City again. The rematch of that AFC Championship game, and Tampa as well, and New England. So and Buffalo. We'll get to them in a second, but. Yeah, this is going to get very tough. And like I said before, they're not going to be able to surprise folks anymore. So there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, okay, show us that last year wasn't a fluke.
Lakeena must be reading my mind, or she has a cheat sheet in front of her. She's not telling me. But anywho, check it in at number 4. Quarterback Josh Allen, head coach Sean McDermott. I told you what I thought about his decision last year during that loss to Kansas City. We won't go through that again, but this is an important year for both of them. Josh Allen, I think he's becoming one of the best top 7, top 5 quarterbacks in the National Football League. Head coach Sean McDermott has done a great job. He just has to tighten up that defense. All eyes are going to be on him this year, especially after that classic game that both teams the Bills and the Chiefs gave us last year in the playoffs. This is going to be a big year for Buffalo. Not to go too much into it, like you said, we'll get more in depth once we preview that AFC East. But this is an important year for that Buffalo franchise. I know they brought in Von Miller to help bring along that defense, but is that enough?
Well, that's going to be the thing. He brings that kind of like that. He now has 2 rings now, so he brings up that kind of like that championship experience. But with Josh Allen, 36 touchdowns, 15 interceptions last year, but it was really their defense. But that was supposed to have been sort of like the big bread and butter that kind of let them down in the end. So I don't know. I don't want to say that McDermott's on the hot seat and such, but there should be going to be a lot. We'll see. Travis White's unfortunately going to be starting on the PUP list, so hopefully he'll be able to be out of that by before the season starts. Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones. So, Tremaine Edmonds, he had his struggles. Micah Hyde has had his struggles too in that Kansas City game. So there's going to be a lot of, people that are going to be expected a lot from that defense. They feel like they have a chip on their shoulder. And like I said, having Von Miller there, I think can only help bring that leadership, bring that experience. Also, too, the O-line, they beef up that O-line as well. So, of course, Devin Singletary and Stephon Diggs. But, yeah, I think this is sort of like a solid combo. But I think also, too, that there's going to be a lot of pressure going to be on Buffalo this year. You saw if you saw as they started training camp, Buffalo, Allen, came out and, the crowd just started cheering. And I know a lot of Buffalo fans want something to kind of sort of lean into. So they again, we'll get more in depth into it. But, yeah, this is I don't want to say this is a make or break season for the Bills, but it's kind of
get that feel.
Yeah.
You kind of get that feel. Continuing with the best NFL QB coach duos for the upcoming 2022 season, according to Jeff Kerr of CBSSports.com. Check it in at number 3, a team up north of us, Lakeena, the Green Bay Packers, and Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur. I said on this program last year that Aaron Rodgers has played his last game in the Green Bay uniform. Obviously, it's not that way. So he's back for another run at it, Lakeena. I'm not going to sit here and say that this is going to be Aaron Rodgers last year in the Green Bay uniform. I might be surprised it may be it, but we just don't know. But this is interesting because I think that Matt LaFleur wants to go back to what got him to this point in 2018. Remember in 2018, he basically took the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands and gave it to Aaron Jones, which turned out to be a winning formula for the Green Bay Packers. And plus, they had a better defense than much better than they do right now. But Green Bay, they don't have to be great as of right now on paper. They don't have to be as great as they were the last couple of years when they came up short. But I think they still have enough to win the NFC North. But it's going to be interesting to see how Matt LaFleur coaches this team this year. Last year when they lost to San Francisco, they lost it on special teams, and they weren't aggressive enough offensively in that second half. Will he go back to that 2018 model for them knocking on the door as far as getting to the Super Bowl before they got their heads blown off at San Francisco? Will he go back to that 2018 form? Because wherever LaFleur and Rodgers did last year, it didn't work.
Yeah, I think they're gonna have to, they're gonna have to whole new OC, and who's gonna be Rodgers' go-to guy now that Devontae Adams is with is in Las Vegas with the Raiders. So that's gonna be another thing. I mean, will they give the ball to Aaron Jones more? We'll see. Alan Lazard, they got Sammy Watkins, so that should help a little bit, sort of take the kind of pressure off. But hopefully David Bakhtiari is going to be starting on the PUP list as they start camp. That's going to be another thing. Hopefully he can he'll be able to recover from that before the season starts. On the defensive side, I mean, of course we know some of the Adrian Amos, of course, former Bear, and Jair Alexander, of course, he was nicked up last year, so that's going to be another thing. And look, it seems like Rodgers is committed, to the Packers at least for this year. So, again, we'll see what goes on from there. But it'll be interesting. It's gonna be an interesting year in Green Bay, I think. It'll be very intriguing.
Checking in at number 2 for the best NFL QB coach duo for this upcoming season, according to Jeff Kerr of CBSSports.com, is the defending Super Bowl champion Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford and head coach Sean McVay.
Well, I mean, fresh off a Super Bowl, I think, with everything that, Stafford went through when he was in Detroit, 41 touchdowns, 17 interceptions last year, and, threw for almost 4,900 yards, and just, incredible, top 10 in a lot of the both passing yards and passing touchdowns, setting the franchise record for passing yards in the season and a new single season completions in team history. So basically just the more it is that he won a Super Bowl too, I think that's probably another thing there. I think that's probably the most important thing. But I mean, we'll see if they can keep it up. I mean, it's going to be very tough. It usually is for a top Super Bowl. They were already Super Bowl champs, so we'll see. I mean, I know that. I mean, with the Rams, I think it's sort of like you feel as though that maybe I think everything is great, but look, they brought the core back. Aaron Donald got his contract. I mean, Von Miller's over at Buffalo now. We just talked about that, but it's gonna be interesting. Like I said, I think everything is pretty much gravy for them. But I'm sure they're gonna want to try to win it again. We know it's gonna be hard, but you got of course Allen Robinson's there now. So who of course Cooper Kupp. So this is gonna be very I think, and the defense is still the defense, of course. with Aaron Donald especially leading the way there. So the Leonard Floyd, of course, and among others. But they got Bobby Wagner, from their old division rival, the Seahawks. So it's going to be very interesting though in Los Angeles.
And the one thing that you keep in mind here is for the Rams is they haven't had to deal with a lot of major injuries so far in the last calendar year. I know Robert Woods got hurt last year, and Odell Beckham Jr., I think he's technically still a free agent. He got hurt in the Super Bowl last year, but heaven forbid that Aaron Donald gets hurt. That's going to set their Rams team back. I know that their management said bleep them picks and go for it every year. But if they have any major injuries to the players that you just mentioned, Lakeena, this could go off the rails in a hurry. We talk about the NFC being wide open. Let's not forget the Rams are the defending champions that represents the NFC. But if they have any major injuries to those stars you just mentioned, it's going to be a whole lot of trouble in La La Land.
Yeah, hopefully, like I said, knock on wood. They've been able to avoid those major injuries. So don't put that. I'm sure a lot of Rams fans are going to be saying, don't put that on the universe. But I mean, hopefully they can kind of, stay steadfast and stay focused. And I think I remember, you got that big old bling. So I'm sure if they want to get another bling, they got to earn it. So we'll see if they can do just that this year.
All right, checking in at number one for the best NFL QB coach duo for this upcoming season, according to Jeff Kerr of CBSSports.com. It is, if you can hear me banging on my table, the Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes and head coach Andy Reid.
Not a big surprise, I think, especially after what happened last year, basically, kind of being surprised by the Cincinnati Bengals, 37 touchdowns, 13 interceptions for Mahomes, 4 AFC West titles, they already have a Super Bowl under their belt, but I think it's not like they haven't been, up there. They have. It's just that, weird things have happened and that, they end up losing. So, it's sort of one of those things where they lost Tyreek Hill. So that's another, we'll see if, of course they got Juju Smith-Schuster. So he could pick up the slack there, but that's sort of, and Kelsey's getting older as well. So that's probably another thing now. That's going to be interesting to see how that sort of dynamic plays out.
Yeah, as you mentioned, we'll keep more deep into it as the days and weeks go on, but they're probably perhaps the toughest division on paper in the league, the AFC West. We talked about the Chargers earlier. Don't forget Denver. They picked up Russell Wilson. I still have questions about that roster, but like I said, we'll get more in depth into it as the days and weeks go on. And then don't forget the Las Vegas Raiders. They squeaked into the playoffs last year. If it wasn't for a couple of big plays here and there, they could have upset the Bengals on the road.
Yes, they could have.
And they got a new head coach in Josh McDaniels. So it's not going to be an easy division. The Kansas City, we talked about what happened to them last year with the offense going through a spell, and they had to be carried by their defense. Of course, they went through the motions in that second half of the AFC title game, or else they should have been in the Super Bowl again last year. So this is going to be an interesting year for the Chiefs.
Yeah, and like we were saying, this is, like I said, we'll get more like, sort of like in the meat and potatoes of it in a little bit, but within the next few weeks. But again, we don't want to say this is sort of like a make or break year for the Chiefs, especially with they got the division is now even tougher for everything that you mentioned. So this is going to be, they are the best, QB head coach combo. I guess they're like the kings of the AFC West until somebody beats them. So, but they actually have some competition now, in the Chargers and of course, the Raiders and such. So, and the Broncos. Yeah, I don't know about the Broncos, but maybe that's till next year, I guess. But again, like I said, we'll get more in depth into it. But yeah, I think this is not a surprise that Mahomes and Reid are the top QB coach combo in the NFL. You won't get any argument from me in that sense.
Yeah, so that's the top 10 QB coach combo list in the NFL for this upcoming season, according to Jeff Kerr at CBSSports.com. Lakeena, before we move on, I want to talk about another quarterback coach combo, and that's in Tampa Bay with Tom Brady and head coach Todd Bowles. As you always say, for Todd Bowles, this is not his first rodeo. We saw what he did when he coached the New York Jets 2015. They barely missed the playoffs, and then things just came off the rails his next couple of years with injuries and bad play from key guys. But I want to see how Tom Brady in his last year of that 3-year contract that he signed when he joined Tampa a couple years ago. We talked about Leonard Floyd showing up 260 pounds out of shape in camp already. Bruce Arians is now working in the front office, and we know there was some friction there between him and Brady. I want to see how Brady gets along with Todd Bowles, because basically this is on him.
Yeah, this is, well, and I think he knows that too, especially now that Gronk is okay, I guess I'll do the air quotes again, retired.
Right.
We'll see if he comes back. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely gonna, I think the onus is gonna be on him now. So this is gonna sort of be like, we'll see. I mean, yeah, we know that he and Arians were too crazy about each other. So now that you got Bowles, of course, I think Brady signed off on that, and that's going to be sort of like the thing where, okay, it's going to be you. It's going to be on you, my friend.
Yeah, it's going to be on him. As we talked about before, too, like you said, we'll get more in depth into it as the weeks and days go by. Tampa Bay, they're almost like, in my opinion, in a position of the Green Bay Packers. They're not in a great division. You don't have to perform great, but if you basically stay injury free, you can win this division by a mile. You have New Orleans, so I think there could be a slight challenge to Tampa Bay. But Carolina, they got two quarterbacks. They trying to decide who's going to be the starter in Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. And of course, you have a Marcus Mariota in Atlanta, who they're trying to be respectable, but they're going through some growing pains. And so this division should be easily theirs.
Yeah, they should. And like I said, I mean, the NFC South, I mean, that's sort of again, Atlanta's still rebuilding, so that shouldn't be a problem. Carolina, I know they got Baker Mayfield now, but again, the talent isn't there. The Saints, maybe, but again, you don't know how Jameis Winston's gonna look. Like I said, we'll get more in depth, but yeah, it should be, the Bucks' division to lose, but again, weird things happen in the NFL. We've seen in the last few years, especially.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. We're live and in living color, the Monday edition. Sid and Lakeena here with you. We have a few minutes left. Lakeena, let's get into it as we make our return for Old School TV Monday, as we do around this time every Monday edition of this fabulous program. Today, we'd like to salute the Harper family / Hogan family. That's right. The Hogan family, originally titled Valerie and later Valerie's Family, is an American sitcom television series that began airing on NBC on March 1st, 1986. And they finished its run on CBS on July 20th, 1991 for a total of 6 seasons and 110 episodes. It was produced in association with Laura Marr Productions in 1986, Laura Marr Telepictures from 86 through 88, and Laura Marr Television 1988 through 1991. The show originally centered around Valerie Harper in her title role as mother trying to juggle her career with raising 3 sons with an absent airline pilot husband. After the first 2 seasons, Harper was replaced, leaving the show for salary disputes, and her character was killed off. She was replaced by Sally Duncan. The series was initially renamed Valerie's Family before Sandy Duncan joined the cast as her sister-in-law and the boy's aunt. It was subsequently renamed The Hogan Family. Lakeena, I remember watching this program originally when it was on NBC until I did my research over the weekend. I forgot it finished this last year on CBS. I forgot about that.
And the last 2 years. I think the last 2 years or the last year and a half, it was on CBS. Yep.
I forgot about that. And the reason why I wanted to shout out this program too today, shout out to Chicago's very own. He's still doing big things in Hollywood, and that's Jason Bateman. Of course, he's done a great motion pictures throughout his career, and he had that great television show, which I'm trying to check out now, Arrested Development, that went on for years on Fox TV. And so I remember he really got his big break on that program back in the mid-'80s.
Yeah, well, look, he started off as a child star. He was on Little House. Of course, he played Ricky Schroeder's best friend in Silver Spoons before he left. And
next to Alfonso Ribeiro. Yep.
Yeah, and we'll get to Silver Spoons probably too at some point as well. Old School TV Monday. But yeah, he had his own show, but that didn't work out. But luckily, Valerie's, the Hogan Family became available. So I was actually telling a friend of mine, Casey, what's up, Casey, about this. We were talking about it. It's crazy that this show is not streamed anywhere. It's not even streamed.
I know. I was trying to find it. I couldn't find it anywhere as far as streaming services.
Yeah, it's sort of weird, but the disputes with Valerie Harper, and it was just salary too. She wanted more. She didn't want. Of course, this is a woman that was in the business for years. Of course, with Mary Tyler Moore and Rhoda, multiple Emmy winner, and she wanted not just money but more control over the scripts and such, and wanted more in depth, sitcom. Sort of course, the family sitcom, of course, has evolved so much over the years, but it had a really solid, and a lot of people thought the show actually became more popular when she left and Sandy Duncan came on.
Which was very weird.
Which is odd because usually it's the reverse. Usually the ratings go down, but in this case, actually the ratings actually went up. And I think Sandy actually brought, of course, coming from the stage. She had been a Broadway actress for years, probably best known for a while in Roots, but she came on, she said herself, she didn't do a lot of episodic television. She did stuff here and there in the 70s, but this is sort of her first time actually doing really good, Meat and Potatoes sitcom stuff. And of course, Josh Taylor, of course, he went on, he came from Days of Our Lives. That's where I first saw him. And he's still on there now playing a different character. That's another situation. But, he was, still doing that, for a little bit. Of course, playing a pilot, you're gone for weeks at a time and such. So it was, also, Jason Bateman played the older brother. Jeremy Litt and Danny Ponce did. They played fraternal twin brothers. Yeah, and they were not afraid to sort of get into some serious topics. I remember one they did drinking. I know.
Yes, I remember that one. Yep.
And David lost one of his friends to AIDS. It kind of happened pretty quick. That kind of
that was premature subject to talk about during those days.
Yeah, that was.
And this was
that
right
sort
before
of very
Magic
touching.
Johnson.
Yeah, this look. I think it was like a year before. I'm trying to remember exactly when that show aired, but when exactly it was like I said, it was actually before Magic announced his diagnosis. So yeah, so they weren't afraid to really delve into some really interesting topics. And I know that Jeremy Lind is, and also too did. I think he goes by Luis Ponce now. Daniel Ponce. I think they're doing like a lot of. I think they're doing like a show now. I forgot. I think it's like there's a streaming too. I know that they're still acting. I know Jeremy did a lot of voiceovers. Of course, we all know what Jason's doing. Also, Ozark. Guys should definitely check that out on Netflix. That just ended their run too. So yeah, everybody actually did pretty well. Of course, Edie McClure played Mrs. Poole, who I loved. I absolutely adore her and such.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I forgot about her, but you're right. Yeah, now his memory serves back. That's right. She had her big break on there too.
I think she was on Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I think before that, and look, Kelly Martin, had a recurring role on the show, playing one of the boys' love interests. Also, Josie Bissett before Melrose Place. She played. I forgot which girl. I think she played Mark's girlfriend. On there before Melrose Place and such. Also, I think Tiffany Thiessen was on there too for a little bit. Playing. I think she played. She played David's girlfriend or love interest. So yeah, there was an interesting. But before they were started as guest stars. So yeah, it was a really great show that should be streaming somewhere. I'm surprised that it's not, but hopefully, maybe we'll be surprised.
Yeah, maybe. Couple other nuggets before we close out. Number one wasn't, and I'm not on Google right now, so you can trust me on this. You can back me up on this, Lakeena. Didn't Jason Bateman replace Michael J. Fox in Teen Wolf 2?
Yep.
I thought so.
Yep,
Another point to the brain. And number two, shout out to one of the best underrated old school R&B singers ever. She did the theme song to this show, Roberta Flack.
Through the years,
yes.
that was probably one of the more underrated, I think, TV theme songs in the 80s.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it's sort of like I said, The Hogan Family was definitely one of those sitcoms where it was kind of like right there, like it kind of came on like right in between, when the original Cosby Show and such, and that was
Full
kind of
House, Family Matters, yeah.
Well, it was actually before Full House too. It came on in '86,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's sort of like it kind of delve into like some really cool topics. There's a family in suburban Chicago. Like you said, I mean, the mom. Well, initially, the mom was juggling, with the husband being who's a pilot. Of course, you're gone for weeks at a time. Now, you lose the mother, then the sisters, and then Michael's sister, Sandy comes in and sort of, kind of takes over that motherly type role and such. Kind of like a good combination there. And like I said, it was sort of like one of those very underrated sitcoms that doesn't get a lot of its love. And I'm glad we're giving it a little bit of a shout out today. So I'm glad about that.
Yeah, so this is our old school TV Monday salute to the Harper/Hogan family. We salute you. All right, Lakeena, I got one more story before we close out. And this comes from our good friends at Awful Announcing. I'm sure you saw this too. That the Winning Time, that miniseries on HBO Max, will be coming out later this year for a second season, which I thought was very entertaining. People think that's a documentary. It's not. It's a drama. It's a dramatization, folks. Dramatizations are very different from true stories, so we'll leave it at that. But Hulu is going to premiere 2 episodes of the true story behind the Los Angeles Lakers Showtime dynasty. The first 2 episodes will premiere 3 weeks from today, August 15th, on Hulu. The true story of the Los Angeles Lakers dynasty, according to the article, is going to have that Last Dance feel, but it's not going to be centered on one character like Last Dance was, i.e. the Michael Jordan story.
Yeah, it's hilarious that they felt that they had to sort of, put the emphasis on the fact that this is a true story. It's not like, I mean, people forget that Winning Time is more like, it's more of a dramatization.
Exactly.
So, it's not really like, it could be true, but it's probably not true. So that's probably where like all that kind of, it sort of came from. And I guess they kind of had to beat it over the head. Like, this is actually the real story. So now it'll be interesting to see. So it is hilarious that they felt like they had to keep, pushing that point home that, hey, this is actually the true story, unlike Winning Time. So, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of more swearing. I'm sure how much in depth will they go into? Will it be kind of like, I'm sure they got some, old footage from, the 80s. I'm sure they do, but it'll be interesting to see how far do they go. Will it be like the Celtics Lakers, trilogy? If you guys remember on 30 for 30, I love that was one of my favorites.
Yeah, the Lakers
30 for
Celtics one.
30.
Yeah, that was very good. Yes.
That was really good. So we'll kind of like follow that pattern. Will it be like The Last Dance, or like it said, it's going to be more characters? Of course, you're probably going to say Magic, Kareem, among others, Michael Cooper and all those guys, James Worthy and such. I'm sure, Pat Riley too. So yeah, it'll be. I might check it out. So like I said, I might check it out just to kind of see like how they really like sort of like really like pull the curtain and kind of delve into it.
I know that people have been giving rave reviews to the Apple TV Plus documentary that they produced about Magic Johnson. I haven't seen it yet. Have you checked it out yet?
No, I haven't. I'm waiting for it to go on YouTube, honestly.
At least you're telling the truth. Yeah, but I heard that was very good. So maybe at some point I'll check out this Hulu, the Hulu series. I'll wait for it. I want to see if they got backing from NBA Entertainment to release some of that material. That's the real question. I'm sure they have us that want to put it out.
Yeah, also, I'm sure they probably put it out there. I'm sure. So I'm sure they're gonna get some actually real footage of it. So I'm sure it's not gonna do like snapshots because it would kind of like ruin like the flow of the story. So I'm sure they probably have got some footage for NBA. So yeah, when is that supposed to premiere, Sid?
3 weeks from today, August 15th, Monday, August 15th. The first two episodes will be available exclusively on Hulu.
Okay, so you guys will definitely check that out too on Hulu. So should be interesting. Like I said, I might check that out too, just to see kind of like how does it look and how really far deep they get into. But with that said, you can follow me at Kingdom McGee on the Twitter and at Kingdom McGee on the IG. You
can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. You can download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Make sure you catch Second City Sports Podcast at War on Anchor. We are available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And make sure you give War Media a follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at WARR Media. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Smash that like button. Share this program to any and everybody you know. And don't forget that you can catch Second City Sports live and in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, exclusively on Sports Zone Chicago. That's Second City Sports. Every Monday, every Friday, live in the Living Club from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. And speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, we are now available on Roku TV. That's right. You can catch Sports Zone Chicago now on Roku television. You have a Roku TV. Just click on the sports section and download Sports Zone Chicago app today. If you don't have a Roku TV, that's okay. You can download the Roku TV app on your iPhone, tablet, laptop, and make sure you
whatever device you have.
Exactly. And just click on the sports section and download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. So get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku TV.
All right, folks. I know it's getting hot. I know it's still very hot in some parts of the country. So make sure you guys stay hydrated. Wash your hands, wear your mask if you're not going to get vaccinated, and just be good to each other. There's been Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and enjoy the games, coming up this weekend. We're kind of getting to sort of like the training camps are opening up. So yeah, so we're almost there, folks. Oh boy. All right. So for Sid, I'm Lakeena. This is Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you Friday.
Go Sox. Holla.